program is available with described video.
This is the nature of things.
There, it's a toy. We're playing with the toy. This is how we play with the toy.
Autism is the fastest rising developmental disorder in the world. It affects children everywhere.
This is Ali, he's 13 years old, he's autistic. This is Afshir, he's 12 years old, he's autistic.
In the last 20 years, autism in all its forms has increased by a staggering 600% in North America. And so far, medicine can't tell us why.
What we were told was, we have no explanation. Things like this just happen.
Autism's rapid rise, especially among new immigrants, is a clue pointing to environmental causes. Now some scientists are zeroing in on bacteria in the gut as a key to what has conventionally been considered a disorder only of the brain.
The traditional way of looking at autism as a specific brain insult that is largely permanent and unreversible may be somewhat outdated.
We still don't know what causes autism. The current best guess is that many cases are the result of a genetic vulnerability triggered by other factors. The effort to explain those other factors is leading some scientists to an unexpected part of the body, the gut. Autism is affecting more and more families throughout industrialized countries. But immigrants from several non-industrialized societies are being hit even harder. Adar Hassan lives in Toronto with her 4 children. 2 of them, Abshir and Ali, are autistic. They both started out as normal babies.
Hi, baby. How are you? Say hi. Say hi. Okay, let's go now.
Somali communities in Sweden and the United States have autism rates 2 to 4 times higher than in the general population. Toronto's Somali community has a similar problem.
The first year of his life, I would say, was as normal as you can be, even more normal than my 2 previous children. But suddenly something happened.
It all started after Ali was treated for recurring ear and chest infections with multiple courses of antibiotics.
He started, refusing coming near me. He started crying all the time and going under the table, things like that. He began walking his toes and refusing to eat food, just want to drink, cow milk. He was having a diarrhea, 10, 15 times a day. And his eyes, it's not even there, it's like another world. And no one helping, going this doctor after another doctor and after another doctor. How many doctors I've been when I was struggling with Ali's condition? No one helps.
Ali had a lot of health problems, and some of them seemed food-related.
You want to go outside or you want to play?
But no one could say why. Adar's search for answers brought her and her friend Idman here, where desperate parents are looking for anything that might help. The annual Autism One conference in Chicago is the largest and most comprehensive of its kind. Here, scientists and parents alike come to get the latest trends in scientific research and unconventional treatments.
We're New Beginnings Nutritionals. We're a supplement company, and we're highly New Life Foods. We offer gluten-free, casein-free, and soy-free. Essential fatty acids improves brain function for children with autism.
Hi, this is Isaac. He's a robot.
Hi, I'm Amy from Living Well, designed by Amy.
Hi, we're standing in front of some hyperbaric oxygen chambers.
If you're not satisfied with it, I will personally, as owner of the company, refund your money.
There is a revolutionary new product that has come out on the market that is a
GPS, real-time tracking device.
advice for children with autism. Check us out at www.
With no official medical protocol for treatment, parents are frustrated with the lack of options.
As parents, we want to use science-based treatments and therapies, but there's a certain sense that we can't wait for science to catch up.
Right now, all that most doctors will recommend for this puzzling disorder is behavioral therapy like this.
It's a toy. We're playing with the toy. This is how we play with the toy.
Autism is a spectrum disorder, so you can be a little bit or a lot autistic. There's no typical case and no prescription for handling it. 50 years ago, autism was considered rare, affecting only 1 in 10,000 children. Now the rate in North America is 1 in 90 children.
If you continue this up, then eventually, about 25 to 30 years' time, you get autism as the norm in an American family rather than a rarity.
The term autism was first coined in the 40s and was thought to be the byproduct of cold, detached mothering. And so the term refrigerator mother was born, and with it a heartbreaking trend in blaming the mother that would last for decades. From there, the culprits have been everything from nerdy parents to pollution, to television watching and food allergies. As stats on the disorder have grown, so have the theories. The most contentious of these has been the suggestion that childhood vaccines are causing autism. A study published by Andrew Wakefield in 1998 launched an avalanche of controversy throughout the world. Even after Wakefield's methods were discredited and his medical license revoked, vaccination rates suffered a steep decline.
Any regrets, Dr. Wakefield?
No regrets, thank you.
Study after study has found no connection to autism, but vaccine theories and Dr. Wakefield himself still have loyal defenders.
Okay.
In fact, one of the star attractions at Autism One this year is actor Jenny McCarthy, a self-described mother warrior who blames vaccines for her own son's autism. She and many parents remain suspicious of vaccinations in the absence of any other convincing theory.
And you'll hear people say, oh, vaccines don't cause autism, this doesn't cause autism. I don't know how you can tell me something doesn't cause it if you can't name one thing that causes it.
Lately, most of the research funding has been invested in work on the link between genes and autism. Dr. Stephen Scherer heads the Autism Genome Project at Toronto's Sick Kids Hospital. They're projecting that over 100 genes may contribute to autism, and so far they have identified 6.
The goal of our research is to find which genes are leading to the development of autism, and so when we make a discovery and we find a gene involved, it starts to explain part of this medical mystery, but it doesn't tell us specifically why that gene has been changed or mutated. We also know through other studies that environmental agents can lead to increased rates of genetic changes. So certainly that's a possibility. We can do those experiments once we know what the target genes are, because we can test in the laboratory which environmental agents have effect on how those genes are replicated or turned on or turned off.
Autism Canada, this is Laurie speaking. Yes, we do have...
Laurie Mollum is the executive director of Autism Canada. She gets hundreds of emails and phone calls a day from parents who want answers about autism.
This is a slow day for the phone. Info at...
For many parents, gene identification is just too slow.
I think that we have to look at environment now because we know that environment influences our gene expression. And we know that if we understand what environmental triggers are influencing autism, we can avoid those and maybe consequently reduce the amount of autism that we're seeing.
Dr. Derek McFabe is a leading proponent of the environmental theory of autism. He thinks the gastrointestinal problems of many autistic children are a major clue. His unorthodox message is gaining ground in parts of the scientific community and speaks to the experience of parents.
Thank you very much. You have a huge bacterial population in your gut, and when you eat, you feed them. And what they produce has profound effects on behavior. When you really look at the research, infection and gastrointestinal infection and antibiotic use seems to be one of the underappreciated but rapidly emerging causes possibly for triggering or worsening this disorder.
Get propionic acid out of the brain.
This is our hypothesis. So by not eating carbohydrates, it may be a reduction in feeding these bugs to make it.
So you starve.
Yeah, so this may be one of the reasons that particular diets that seem to be...
What Dr. McFabe is saying about the gut bacteria theory makes sense to Adar, given her son's history of gastrointestinal problems. Back home, she finds that a low-carbohydrate diet free of processed foods does seem to reduce their autistic symptoms. Perhaps it's significant that it's more like the simple food she grew up on in Somalia.
I don't buy them, vitamins and things like that. I just feed them fruit, root food, and that's it. Since I started doing that, I see a lot of difference, in terms of behavior and gut and all those things.
Juice, yum. Hey, easy.
Rates of autism in Somali communities living in the West are curiously high, when back in Somalia, autism is a rarity. So much so that Somalis have begun to call autism the Western disease.
It doesn't surprise me to hear that if you shift a population from Africa to America or Canada, that you get a shift in disease profile, and that would include autism, potentially.
Dr. Jeremy Nicholson and his colleagues at London's Imperial College have been looking at intestinal flora and their role in health for years. Metabolites, which are the products of the processes of the human body, reveal a great deal about how an individual's body works. One of the easiest ways to study metabolites is by looking at urine.
So there are thousands of different metabolites in urine, and all have got their own unique radio signatures. So what we do is we drop a sample like this, it's got about 0.5 ml of urine, into a very strong magnet. It realigns all the magnetic nuclei, and we can pump in radio waves and then listen to each molecule basically sing its own frequencies.
Dr. Nicholson became interested in the mystery of autism a few years ago and launched a large-scale study of urine from autistic children, their non-autistic siblings, and healthy, unrelated children.
Matt, hi. Oh, how is it going?
So we say we have some more tweaking to do, just of the hardware, really.
So, I've had a good idea, Culture.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
The question was there anything about autism that made it different to normal? And so we profiled a number of children. We found they're actually quite different in many different respects. One of the most interesting being that they have significant differences in gut microbial metabolite profiles, implying that the gut microbes inside them were working somehow in a different way to normal children.
Dr. Nicholson has found that diseases have changed in the Western world in the last 60 years, and that increased rates of certain disorders, like autism, correspond to a country's level of industrial development.
Since the Second World War, we really entered the modern age of technology, and with that has brought us the blessing of McDonald's and all the other things like that, and all the highly processed food. It's also brought us antibiotics. So we've changed more phenotypically, more in terms of our biological signatures, our biological makeup and our lifestyle in the last 50 odd years or so, than we have probably over all our time since the Ice Age. Right, that's a giant change in our biology, so it's bound to have a whole series of consequences. And one of the consequences, we think, is that the microbes, fundamental activity of the microbes and the composition of the gut microbes has changed.
So the question remains, could a change in our microbes affect our bodies and contribute to diseases like autism?